So, a few years ago, I had come off staff from my church. And although it had been incredibly challenging leading through a global pandemic, I loved being a pastor. I knew it was time for me to step away from that role and move into the therapeutic space. But that decision didn't come without wrestling. I was approaching my 60th birthday, navigating a major identity shift, and sitting on the back steps with my peppermint tea in hand, heart full of questions. I remember asking God not, okay, so what's the plan? But simply, like, where am I? Like, how did I end up here? And who am I? Maybe that's where you are too. And if you're navigating change or a role, a relationship, a dream, or a deep internal shift, you're in the right place. This series is called Thresholds because transitions aren't just events that happen to us or within us, they're invitations. They can be very sacred. They're not detours, they're part of your becoming. My name's Tracy. I'm one half of Coach Align, a qualified counsellor, coach, and recovering control freak. And I've created this series to help you walk with God through a sacred space of transition. Now, a threshold is a space that's between what was and what's next. It's the doorway moment. You're not quite inside, but no longer outside. Now, there's some transitions that we anticipate, like becoming a woman, becoming a mother, starting a new job, or stepping into leadership, moving, graduating, getting married, launching something new. And we have a measure of control over these transitions. But then there's other transitions that take us by surprise when we find ourselves alone. We find ourselves grieving. We find ourselves leaving or being left. We find love or we lose someone we love. In scripture, thresholds, transitions were sacred spaces, places of covenant, calling, and transformation. In psychology, we call this a liminal space, the in-between where the old has ended but the new hasn't fully arrived. It often feels foggy, tender, even chaotic, a little bit crazy. And neuroscience backs this up because our brain is wired for certainty. When the future feels unclear, uncertain, our limbic system, our emotional brain, the part that's responsible for threat, direction, and detection goes into overdrive. We may shut down, lash out, or just feel, I don't know, stuck. But here's the good news. Even when your nervous system is on hyper alert, saying danger, 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 God says, be still. This is holy ground. Now, why does this integration matter? Because we're not just spiritual beings, we're whole beings, heart, soul, mind, and body. And when we go through a transition, all of us goes through it. So in this series, we're going to explore how transition impacts us spiritually, where God invites us to return and realign with who we truly are. Psychologically, it's really important that we understand how transitions impact us because we grieve, we release old stories, we rebuild identity. And then neurologically, the brain prunes old patterns and creates new pathways. Now, according to Dr. Bruce Perry, co-author of What Happened to You, the brain changes through repetition, rhythm, and relationship, which means what you repeatedly think, say, and do during transition becomes the new structure your future is built on. That's why Paul says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's not just poetic, it's profoundly neurobiological. Now, if we don't understand the nature of transitions as sacred thresholds, we can end up misinterpreting them. We might see them as temptations to resist rather than invitations to grow. We might disconnect from our values, pull away from alignment, or miss the movement and this moment, this God moment entirely. And that's why this series exists, to help you walk with as much clarity as you possibly can have and courage through seasons of change with your whole self engaged. You're not going to leave any part of yourself behind. In this series, we'll walk through a 6-part model I call the transition integration model, a path for navigating sacred thresholds. We're going to walk through a 6-part series, a path for navigating sacred thresholds. The first part is name the threshold, and we'll look at that in the next video, because this is where healing starts. It starts with awareness. Then we're going to look at entering that liminal space, learning to hold the tension without rushing. Then we're going to let go of the old by honoring what's ending and releasing it with grace. Then renewing the mind and the identity, reimagining who you are becoming and making sure that that's aligned with your deepest desires, your values, and God's eternal purpose for you. We're going to look at receiving in the wilderness, opening up to God's provision in that space of uncertainty, and then responding with courage, taking small, aligned steps of faith, and then we'll wrap it all up. Each movement is anchored in scripture, supported by psychology, and affirmed by neuroscience. This isn't just theory, it's transformation, soul deep and scientifically sound. So if you are standing at a threshold right now, you take a breath. Breathe deep. Exhale long. This isn't an ending. Trust me, it's a beginning. You don't have to rush. There's no hurry. You don't have to have it all figured out. And you are certainly not alone in it. You're in the right place. And this series is here to walk with you. In the next episode, we'll begin with the first step. Where am I? Because, as I said, awareness is where healing begins. So until then, let me leave you with the first divine question ever recorded in history. Where are you? Adam, Eve, where are you? Let that be your starting point. And before you go, I would love you to comment below. You can ask any question you would like. Maybe you'd like to let us know what thresholds you're standing on right now. I'd love to hear your story because connection just really matters to us. Download the free Thresholds checklist. It's a self-reflection guide that we've created to help you identify where exactly are you, a beginning, middle, end. Subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss the next episode, Where Am I? And if it spoke to you, if this spoke to you, maybe share it with a friend that needs it too. Let's walk this sacred space, this transitional space together. And till next time, it's bye for now.